Recording now and awesome.
Why do you always have to talk at the beginning?
Every single time.
All right. Welcome, all you Rugrats, to the podcast that is all that and a bag of chips. My name is Mike, and over there is a swinging Jelly.
Whoa, I don't
How's
swing.
it going today, Jelly?
It's going great.
What? This is a family-friendly podcast.
I mean, I don't like swings. What are you thinking?
Oh, okay. Then this on the other side is Max from the Infinity Bros. How you doing today, Max?
Good. When I said I'd come back after a previous one, I asked how rowdy I can get, and you guys were both pretty like, hey, this is family friendly. And we're family friendly on the Infinity Bros, but we from time to time do cross the line, and so I'm just glad I wasn't the first to cross the line between the two times I've been here. So I'm grateful for that and excited to be back and grateful to be with you guys.
Looking at you on that one, Mike.
Just letting you know, 40%
Wherever you are.
of the 100% of the time, it is Jelly.
Yes, and for our show, it's Mark. So yeah, so him and Jelly would get along great. They would.
We love you, Jelly. Well, welcome to the show. We are diving deep into the first episode of a fan favorite. Today is Jelly.
X-Files.
No. Oh my goodness.
It's Power Rangers, everyone. It's Power Rangers, and I lost again. Welcome to Power Rangers, the mighty morphing Power Rangers.
So we have been doing polls recently to poll the social media verse and see who wins. And Jelly, I'm 2-0 here. Like,
Bro, I am 2 for 2 in being world's biggest loser at polls.
Yeah, I'm thinking you need to step up your game here.
Just so everyone knows, the next poll option will be X-Files and X-Files. I for sure will win.
There's a guarantee there. So yeah, just letting everybody know listening, we do throw out polls both on Instagram and Twitter. Also on our Facebook page, I do a post. You could comment down below if you would like to vote for whichever you'd like. And Power Rangers won this week. My show again. Sorry, Jelly, love you. But we'll be diving into the first episode of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And so really quickly, if you want to pause this podcast right now, I believe all the episodes are on Netflix. I think they might be in several other places, or if you're a nerd and you own it, then pull out the DVDs, something like that. I'm not going to do housekeeping this week. Reason being is because I just want you to listen. Just listen to the show, and if you feel the need, if you feel the want, if you feel the desire to support us, go ahead and go over to our Patreon. Every single tier gets access to everything. So, all right, and spread the word. We just really want people listening to the podcast. We want your reviews. We want your criticisms. We want to grow. We want to be able to be your one-stop shop for some amazing 90s content. So with that all being said, you guys, Jelly, did I miss anything?
No, it's good, man. It sounds good.
Right, Max, did I miss anything?
Not on my end. No. I'm a guest. So yeah.
Just thought I'd inquire.
Well, that's fine. No, I do. I feel validated. I feel important. No,
There you go.
so thank you.
Good. All right. So, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Let's go over some of the bumpers here really quick. Some of the information. Released in 1993, the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers ran for 3 years, 3 seasons, out to 1996. And the first episode is called The Day of the Dumpster. And let's see, we have Richard Stephen Horvitz as Alpha 5. We have David Yost as Billy Cranston. We have David J. Fielding as Zordon. Paul Schreier, Jason Narvi as Bulk and Skull, respectively. Barbara Goodson as Rita Repulsa. And then Amy Jo Johnson as Kimberly Hart, as well as the Pink Ranger. And then moving down, we do have The Black Ranger and Zack by Walter Jones, and Toy Trang, the Yellow Ranger, as Trini, and then also yours, my favorite, the Red Ranger, Austin St. John, as Jason Lee Scott, the Red Ranger. So that's kind of the cast there. Kerrigan Mahan as Goldar as well. You got Richard Janelle shows up in this first episode as Ernie. So you got a brevity of cast there. All different characters, all different purposes. I mean, we'll get into that, but first let's kind of run down nostalgia lane. Max, can you what nostalgia do you have about this show? Do you have some good memories, like watching it with your family, or like what, when you think of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, what does it make you think of?
Oh, it's Zords and toys. I mean, Jelly and I kind of alluded to this on the movie episode you guys just did, that's on your Patreon right now, but I think just toys sold big for this show, and it was a huge reason why it had such success. Everything could be a toy in this show, and the monster of the week could provide itself to be a toy. So I had a wide array of toys in my collection, air quotes, as a kid that had this. But I think also too, like we talked about this pre-show, just like having those VHSs and knowing which episodes were on them. So, like for me, the one that I had was the one where, Trini was really afraid of heights, and it just kind of talked about that and how the putties chased her and Billy up this rock formation wherever Angel Grove is in the U.S., I'm assuming. And so I think for me, that's the nostalgia, is popping in that same VHS with the same 3 to 5 episodes on it, and then playing with your toys on the side. That to me was pure 90s through it all. And then of course the morphers, right? Like, it's Morphin time. Anybody could do that. Everybody knew. And I don't even know what that's doing. Like, they're just putting their hands out. I don't even know what happens after that. So that to me is what sticks out nostalgia wise.
Hey man, in the movies they put their arms out like this, to save Zordon. So they got some hand motions.
They do lots, and and all that jazz. I mean, yeah, they do a lot.
Oh man, Jelly, what you got down nostalgia lane for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers?
Yo, this was a absolute staple for me growing up. One of the very few cartoons that I was able to watch because it was on regular TV. It wasn't just a Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network show. I was able to get on and actually view the episodes, which was amazing. I was a little young when the first episode came out, but I remember watching it on replay. And yeah, like Max said, I had toys for this. I had a bunch of toys. I had the Ranger toys. I had the Zords. I had a complete Megazord, which I don't have anymore, but I bet that thing is worth money now. But I had a complete Megazord from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, and for me, it's playing with the toys. It's playing with the toys, being able to watch a show and be able to act everything out, right as we're going along with the show. I had putty toys, I had a Rita Repulsor, I had a Goldar, I had all of the toys, and I would make the Power Rangers fight. I mean, everything, everyone, anything. The pets, my mom probably didn't like that, but hey, they were Power Rangers and the pets looked like a giant monster, so our dogs were always big. So for me, the nostalgia comes with all of those memories of playing and being like super imaginative, and then just enjoying what is arguably a pretty cheesy show, but loving it. And as a kid, you don't notice the cheese. You just see awesome.
No.
So for me, it was just all awesome.
Yeah, of course. This show, I love the Power Rangers, and a few years back, I decided to kind of watch through the seasons and everything, and watch through every single episode. And unfortunately, some of it got a little stale because as you watch through the seasons, most of the episodes are the same, pretty much. I mentioned this on the movies podcast, but they get in trouble because they can't beat the putties without their morphers, so they morph. Then they start winning. Then Rita sends her monster, and then they start losing. And then the monster grows, and then Zords, and then win. That's so like. So watching it as an adult, it it kind of got kind of got a little stale, getting into the later episodes. But at the end of the day, it's still Power Rangers. It's still a lot of fun. Nostalgia for me. The biggest nostalgia that I have, honestly, I'm a little jealous. I did not actually have the toys like you guys did. I was more of a Batman animated series collector for those toys as a kid. So I had like almost every single version of Batman like known to the the action figure universe. But for me, a couple things. The first one is I had the very first episode, the one we're going to talk about today, on a VHS tape, and it was so cool because it was this red sleeve that just popped onto it, and it had the Red Ranger on there, and it had the Tyrannosaurus Rex Zord on the cover as well, and it was just this really cool thing. I always remember just pulling it apart, kind of like you, Max. There, what is that? I remember reaching down and taking the sleeve off. Just like you, Max, just watching.
Totally.
I believe this tape that I had like the first 3 or 5 episodes in there, somewhere like that. And so I remember that. The other thing is that I remember growing up, and one Halloween I went as the Blue Ranger, and that was just so cool. For some reason I gravitated towards the Blue Ranger growing up, just like liking him as a character better. He was kind of like the smart guy, and not necessarily I'm pretty dumb, but there's a bee back there. but I just wanted to be the Blue Ranger for Halloween, and that's probably one of my fondest memories. I remember that I still have, I think my grandma still has the picture or something of me like as the Blue Ranger, like standing next to Snow White or something. It was just awesome. But that's anything else that you guys want to mention about nostalgia?
I have a question. As an adult, when you went back to rewatch, did you make the mistake and try to rewatch episode after episode, or did you give yourself a week in between each time to not absolutely destroy your brain?
Right.
Oh no, I binged it. It was just watching as much as I could. The kicker about watching the Power Rangers, going through some of the stuff is, I don't know. I mean, I could look this up, but they brought in the Green Ranger really quick. They really did. I think it was only like 15, 20 episodes in. And so like even watching the first season, it's not as stale, because once the Green Ranger comes in, you have that 5-part Green Ranger saga, and then you kind of, I mean, the best 5-part saga in all of TV, let's be real. But
oh man.
That's for you patrons.
I mean, you have, huh? Hey, the Power Rangers beat the X-Files. I don't want to hear it. I bet the X-Files doesn't have a 5-part saga better than Green Ranger saga. Come on.
Each episode is better than any of them. So, yeah, still a little salty over here.
But Matt, maybe Max will agree with me. But the Green Ranger saga actually had like storytelling, and actually had those stakes that really weren't at play in any of the episodes that came beforehand. So like watching the first season is okay, but once you get into that lull of the same, even when the Green Ranger actually does come around, because there's the Green Ranger saga, and then there's like 10 episodes or so where he's not even in there, and then Tommy comes back. But like even with the Green Ranger, there's Green Ranger, call the Dragon Zord, that type of thing. And then you kind of get into the Thunder Zord stuff, which is kind of where I stopped. I was like, all right, cool. They got the Thunder Zord. I'm kind of done with these episode like archetypes, and like I was just about done. My well had run dry. So yeah, that's kind of watching it back as an adult. It's a tough show to go back and watch every single episode, I would say.
I'm impressed you made it that far.
And what's interesting about this show too is I think this show has shaped, at least for like this millennial generation that is now a young consumer, young parents like us a little bit. I think it's part of the reason for movies like Marvel movies or DC movies wanting this desire of team up movies, because this is what the framework was built on. It's a team, and then the way that their episodes would do is they deconstruct each member. So they would talk about, for instance, Bloom of Doom with Kimberly, or they'd have episodes where Billy would have to do stuff, and I just find that interesting too. That I think that's part of what makes the Marvel movies so enticing for young people now that are watching this, is they love the idea of a team up show, and then you would just add layers. And what this franchise has done very well over the years is continue to add different types of teams. And I'm not one of those people that follows this franchise now, but there are people who are loyal to this that are our age right now watching it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
they have stuck with it for whatever reason. It is that important to them. And these guys are all over, man. They're at all these comic book conventions, and I just find that really interesting that this franchise has, even since that early on, been able to somehow keep that momentum going. Is really fascinating to me.
Yeah. Do you know if the storytelling has evolved in like the Power Rangers like that are coming out now, like, or?
Oh gosh, I couldn't even begin to tell you. I would assume it's the same. I would assume it's the same outline, right? I mean, like you have an episode talking about a character, you have a foil of a monster that represents an insecurity or a thing for them, and then you defeat the monster, and then eventually you do team up things or things that are breaking your team up altogether, right? Like
Yeah.
These 5 episode arcs we're talking about are, I think the cool new thing now to do is bring back old Rangers from whatever seasons are fan favorites, and I would assume that is a big deal nowadays.
Yeah.
Those episodes are a big deal, and I've seen them on YouTube at times too. So like, I mean, especially after you look up this movie, you're seeing all that stuff now on YouTube. But I just have found that interesting about this series, how much I think it has influenced what type of storytelling people want.
Yeah.
I've watched some of the newer Rangers. I don't know how new because they're on Netflix, but they do more. So same storytelling, but more of a two-parters stretched over, more than one episode. I've noticed a lot more of that happening than I remember, because I haven't rewatched all of the original ones, although it's on the background right now, so I'm enjoying it as we talk about Power Rangers. They're very episodic in the originals, I'm noticing. And the newer ones, you get a little bit more of a through story. Even if it is in an episodic nature, you'll get more through story with the characters than what I'm getting out of... I'm on episode 3 now, out of the originals.
Does this hold up for you guys with younger kids? Because my kid's just under 2 years old. Does this hold up for those kids?
So my son is 7, almost 8, and he is absolutely glued right now. He hasn't. Okay. I'm talking about him loudly enough for him to hear, and he hasn't even turned around.
Right. Okay.
Nothing. Just
cool. Well, I just wondered, and the other thing, and I don't know if you're going to talk about this, Mike, but like, even watching this first episode that I watched, Day of the Dumpster, like, the Zords look so much better than the movie in that.
Oh my goodness.
It's like unbelievable how much better they look just in those scenes.
Yeah, and we'll get to this, but the fight with Goldar at the end, I was just like, man, like watching the movie last week and discussing it, I was like, man, I wish the movie was kind of like this, but like in what if they flipped it? What if they had like a CG world, but just like these just like people in big suits, kind of like this first episode, at least in the movie. Man, I totally agree with you. Like, dude, just watching the Zords just like crawl up like this to stand.
When the Mastodon just like comes up slowly, you're like, holy cow, that's intimidating. Like, it looks big on my screen.
It is great. Yeah,
it is really well done by the original creators of this series who did it overseas. Like, unbelievable job by them.
Yeah, you get
to
much
still
more
sell me on that
real feeling of grandeur when they all come out, when they they're flying and they're coming out of the ground. You get that epic sense of, oh yeah, here's something good. Like,
right,
it's about to get real. Versus in the movie, it was they needed to go practical. They needed to take a book or a leaf out of George Lucas's book and go practical effects and not
Yeah.
they did
had
it
already-
wrong in the movie.
They had already
They had the
stolen so
budget,
much
yeah.
from George Lucas at that point, Jelly. They didn't have any more to steal. I think they felt like
he
it would be a
he might
carbon, it would
actually
be a ripoff at that point, right? Like,
yeah, he might actually come after him if they did that.
right. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, let's get into all that chat where we dive deep into the first episode. And like we've alluded to already, first episode is called Day of the Dumpster. And basically, we cannot start talking about the Power Rangers without mentioning the most like epic theme song to ever grace a children's cartoon
gosh,
or
yes.
TV show. Like, are you kidding me, guys?
It holds up. That's all I'm saying. It holds up.
Well, and legitimately, the only other '90s theme song that holds up is, it's ironic for this podcast, is the X-Files compared to this. Like, I feel like the X-Files is the only other song that in my opinion could represent what the '90s was.
Mike,
it's this and
can
X-Files.
you do
in
the
terms of
X-Files
music.
song?
Friends?
I still would probably take these. I mean, Friends.
Batman
I'm not a
animated
big. I'm not a
series?
big Friends guy. Batman animated series for sure. I would take these songs
Okay.
over. Doug, yeah, I'd take that.
Really?
I mean, Doug does have an aesthetic that I can like, not only hear but feel. But I still would take. I still would take Power Rangers and
Oh, yeah.
X Files would be in my top 3 probably if I was making a complete list.
Make me feel
So
good.
maybe that's something we should do.
I would have said that no matter what, because that's the only other song I could think of. But you're right. But even like the full song of this, they use it throughout the series, and they use it like especially
Yeah.
in season 2. And I feel like it's epic. It works.
Oh, it's
It's
good.
cool, but it's epic, and I tip my hat to them on that. They nailed that.
Oh yeah, it works
Yeah, for
every
sure.
time. It's not just like it works one time. I will never skip intro on Netflix because the intro makes the show better. It's not just like this. Oh,
Yep.
like this is cool, whatever. Like for me, and my wife will attest to this, but I do not like intros to shows. I can't stand them. I don't know
Agreed.
what is about them, but I hate them. There are very few shows where I do not skip the intro. Those shows include The Office, The X-Files, and Power Rangers. Like those 3, I
Yeah.
love those intros. Everything else can just every time skip. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Power Rangers, dude, that riff, that freaking like banging
it's-
guitar solo, just yeah,
It's too good.
it's so good, so good.
Yeah, it's amazing. You can't, there's no other Power Rangers, show series iteration that has held up. I haven't even watched all them, but they have not held up to the standard that is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I remember me and Justin, a good friend of Jelly and I, and he I forget which game. It might have been just like a knockoff version on the PC, but we were huge into Rock Band back in the day, and so we found a copy of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on Rock Band to like play. Somebody had made it or something in the community files or something like that, and that song is so hard in Rock Band, it is insane. My fingers just could not do it. It was just,
Was it
but
Dragon
it was a
Force
blast.
through the fire and flames hard?
Oh yeah, it was almost as hard, I would say. But yeah, that's a theme song. You can't go wrong. And just like even like the theme song is in my mind, just like the moments that they show, like the actual scenes that kind of match up to the song as well. Just it's just in my brain, like when the Megazord is standing up and then the logo just pops through, and just like the music behind it, it's just fantastic. You're right. If you skip the intro, you're not watching it right.
You're doing yourself a disservice at the very least if you're skipping Power Rangers, the original Power Rangers intros.
Totally. Absolutely.
I agree. Well, Max, this starts off with kind of right away introducing the villain, Rita Repulsa. So, what are your thoughts on Rita?
Oh, Rita is an integral cornerstone of this show. If you if you're considering Power Rangers to have integrity and big cornerstones to it, I mean, she's great. She's the perfect blend of zany, crazy, and creepy. And I feel like this opening scene with the astronauts pulling her out of this is hilarious. I don't understand why she was in that kind of shaped thing. It was very odd. It looked very weird. It just looked like she was in a trash can and couldn't get the lid off. But I'll take it.
It was the day of the dumpster.
I'll take it. It was the day at the dumpster, and I'll take it. I love Rita Repulsa. She's dynamite.
Jelly, do you like the whole cast of hooligans there? Rita Repulsa, Goldar.
Yo, I don't even know their names. They're entertaining. They're entertaining. They're funny. They're a little bit wacky. They've definitely got enough character to allow them to stand on their own as like a good part of the show instead of just being this one-off villain in the shadows type of deal. Like, they're entertaining. They're pretty dumb and they make stupid mistakes because they're, we'll say, naive because they've been locked away for 10,000 years. But they're entertaining and they definitely have enough. Gosh, I don't want to say character again, but just like enough personality to hold themselves.
They've got character. Come on. Come on. Give it love. They got character. It's a kid's show, but they got it.
They do have character. Yeah, and you after that, I think it's interesting that I thought it was super funny that, like, here you have, the moon. They're kind of on the moon. You got astronauts, and it's like bright as day out there. It's a desert. It's like, and they find this random dumpster, and they're like, "Ooh, pretty shiny!" Like, they just can't ignore the shiny of the red ball in the middle, and they're like, "I want it, I want it." And then, evil villain, evildoer pops out of it, and all her hooligans with her, and now we got our villain. We got our story. And then where does it go from there, Jelly?
Yo, right away, she literally pops out and she goes, "I'm gonna destroy the nearest planet." Like, like what the heck? No, just because that's all it was. I'm just gonna destroy the nearest planet, and then and then from there, it just flashes to it just scene changes, shifts. I'll not use flash in this one so much. We get to BAM transition, Angel Grove Youth Center, gym, and juice bar, because really long titles are cool. And they do this insanely quick intro of the 5 teenagers who will become Power Rangers. And I mean insanely fast. It takes less than 5 seconds and all of them are on screen. Boom. Yeah. We get this super short blip about each one. Jason's an instructor, Billy's a student of karate, Zach's a dancer, Kimberly is a gymnast, and Trini does Tai Chi. Or that's what it looked like. I don't know what she was doing. Maybe yoga. And then boom, done. And then we get Bulk and Skull. And they spend more time on Bulk and Skull than they do all 5 of the Rangers combined.
Let's stop there. Max, you got the theme song of the Power Rangers, but you got the Bulk and Skull song as well. Like,
yes, you do.
I feel like that's so iconic as well.
It is. It's so funny you say that. I think Bulk and Skull, I can hear it in my mind's eye right now. Or I guess my mind's ear right now, going through my head. Bulk and Skull are worthless. They're not really worth anything, in my opinion, as characters. But because this show is a show of nostalgia, the 90s First podcast. You couldn't ask me to get rid of them. You just couldn't.
No.
And for this show, it's really good. I loved the choice that they made in the newest Power Rangers movie that came out a couple years ago to not incorporate them as much as they are in these shows.
Oh yeah.
And I thought that was a wise choice by them, and partly why I like that movie so much. But Bulk and Skull are just, and in a movie that's in a show that's supposed to be about teenagers, Bulk and Skull are very obviously closing in on 30, and it's scary. It's
Maybe
a little,
even
it's
40.
A little weird. Maybe 40. I
like-
don't know. They look older than all three of us right now. I'll put it that way.
There's some amazing things that makeup can do. I mean, seriously.
And sometimes you can't do anything, and I think that's where these two were at. I know like people love having them in these shows, but you could probably have gotten rid of them long term if you'd wanted.
Correct me
they
if
needed
I'm
comic
wrong.
relief. They need, because the Power Rangers take themselves so seriously, and they have to
Yes.
take themselves so seriously. They have this massive responsibility that they got to uphold. And so you had to have people who are going to be goofy and spill shakes on themselves and make fart noises and things like that.
Now, there was a growth of those characters over time, wasn't there? Unless I'm misremembering, but I do remember at one point in time they had to step in and actually save the day and be good in the show, not just the movie, but they actually had to step up in the show and choose to not be bullies. Do you think that may have been a part of it? I don't know if that's a long game thing that they were doing.
Yeah, Bulk and Skull seem like such like throwaway characters just for like, the Three Stooges comedy that you need to
Yes.
add into this action kids show, But I mean, I can recall some episodes where Bulk and Skull are definitely more of an integral part. Unfortunately, a lot of times it's like they're just getting into mischief and then they get in trouble with some of the villains, and the power, either the Power Rangers not morphed or anything like that, just like the teenagers have to be like, have to like save them and stuff. But for the most part, whenever Bulk and Skull come up against a putty, they just like run away. Like,
Yeah,
They
they're
brought
definitely
these
comedic
guys all
foils.
the way. They brought these guys all the way to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Turbo. Like, they just kept these guys in those shows, and they're
Really?
in that movie. They're in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, Turbo movie, excuse me. And I'm like,
they're in the Turbo movie. Yeah.
they are. It's at that point, it's like, all right, we're done. The bit is done. The bit was good for a year or two. It's too much. I'm sorry.
When is Power Rangers gonna take themselves seriously?
It's not that they need to take themselves seriously. It's just that I just don't think those two. I think you could do funny things with the Power Rangers. I don't think you needed those two to do and say funny things. But
No.
it is kids' humor, and you need fart jokes.
I agree.
Okay, apparently only
Can't argue with that one.
humor is fart jokes there.
I'm just saying.
We call it slapstick.
uh,
Slapstick comedy.
Slapstick.
So Bulk and Skull show up, and then all of a sudden, Jelly kind of alluded to it, there is an earthquake, and Zordon and Alpha 5, they know that this ain't no earthquake. This is just Rita Repulsa.
Zordon
doing
does.
Her Rita things.
Alpha does not.
Yeah.
Alpha makes
yeah,
the joke. This is the big one. Big one. The one that breaks California off the coast, because I'm assuming that they're in Los Angeles, Angel Grove. But I thought that was hilarious. This is the big one.
Yeah. So then Zordon's like, we need. What does he exactly say? We need 5.
Teleport to us
Like-
5 over-emotional and
5
overbearing humans.
5 teenagers with attitude.
And yeah, Alpha goes, oh no, you're not saying what I think you are. Yes, we need teenagers, Alpha.
Well,
It's
time out real quick.
terrible.
Have you read, Mike? Have you read the storyline like synopsis off of IMDb? Like
No,
the
I
first
haven't.
sentence says 4 athletically able teenagers along with their brainy friend Billy.
Yes.
Billy
You
gets
gotta
the
be kidding me.
shaft there. What
Oh
a
my goodness.
that's unbelievable. That's the worst thing I've read today. I cannot believe That is the synopsis. Billy gets the shaft. What's up with that?
Oh,
That
man.
is
So it's four
messed
teenagers
up.
with attitude and then their nerdy friend Billy. Come on.
What's funny about that is that, like, Billy is. I can recall so many episodes where Billy is looked to, like, to figure problems
Yes.
out, just like, and like Billy is almost in a lot of episodes up to the status of the Red Ranger in my mind, because he's so integral in solving problems. Yeah, he's not athletic when he's not morphed, but when he's morphed, he holds his own. Obviously, he's a Power Ranger, but at the end of the day, he might be the most vital Power Ranger out of all of them.
Absolutely.
Like-
Well, and it's important too, like, and one of the things that I think you guys are going to find with this series is you continue to review stuff from the 90s is what makes the 90s so special is not just the nostalgia piece for this generation that can, relive it, but it is the true understanding of what diversity means. And that's what the Power Rangers did. I mean, the Power Rangers was a true diverse cast. And they built up, hey, being smart is just as, if not more vital than athleticism to a generation that would go on to code and do all this crazy stuff with the internet. And so I think that's part of what the brilliance of Power Rangers, if I can maybe say that. Maybe that's too much credit. The very wise choice that they made early on was to let Billy be a part of this team, give him some deficiencies athletically, sure, but his intelligence, as you say, and if you read the Boom comics, we talked about that on the movie episode, like, he is massively important to them. And
Very important.
So that it cracks me up that they say 4 athletic kids in Billy. I'm like, come on, that is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like TMNT without Donatello. Dude,
Right.
the Ninja Turtles without Donatello, they're screwed 9 times out of 9.
No.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And how many team up series do we see where they got a smart person?
You always have to have a
It's
smart
like,
person.
you always have to, and I think Power Rangers was one of the first to do that and start that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Was there a smart person in the A-Team or Voltron?
I didn't watch them, so
Yeah, I mean, you got a team. Unfortunately, according to IMDb, Billy's on the side.
what the
but
heck?
he's-
That's ridiculous.
He's I think he's probably the most vital, really, out of all of them, at least in a lot of the episodes. But going back, they're in the command center, right? And they're finally talking to this floating head Zordon, and Alpha 5 is like, I, from out of the corner, and they're like, everybody's taken aback by this whole thing except Jason. Jason's like, oh man, like, at least from what you could tell from this first episode, Jason is really the person who is like, hey, we have a chance to be something here as a team, as a squad, and save the world. Like, if we trust that, we're gonna have these powers. And I think that's pretty. I think that's cool how they played that off. It just kind of putting Jason in the forefront of the leadership, which I love the Red Ranger as the leader, obviously, but like that was a cool scene in my mind. Yeah, you got something, Max?
No, I'm sorry. I literally was clearing my throat. I apologize. It looks like I was like, excuse me? No, I'm sorry.
You were wrong.
No, I agree. I echo everything you say. I retweet it. Keep going.
Whoa. Retweets. Nobody retweets on Twitter, man. It's so annoying. I've thrown some bangers out there.
sounds like you're going off on
believe
a
it.
tangent. It's Power Rangers.
Anyway, so they get their morphers, right, and then Jelly, they're running out of the command center, and who do they find?
Bro, who do they find? I'm blanking on it, to be completely
I'm
honest.
asking you.
That's where my notes stop.
Max,
because I got
who
distracted.
shows up?
I
got
too am
Doom Globe
blanking at
and
the
belt buckle.
moment. I'm excited for Jelly to say it. He'll say it.
Nope. Got nothing on you. I've
Am I?
Is it
Jelly, you
it's
literally
putties? I'm
watched.
assuming it's
You
putties,
literally
right?
watched this like 30 minutes ago.
I know. The problem is I shouldn't have kept Power Rangers on in the background because they're all just turning into the same thing. But I have
Okay, so
Boom.
then if the episodes are the same thing, what comes next?
Yo, is it putty time?
It is
Putty fight, yeah.
putty fight. So these fights were always interesting. Obviously, we've stated before that they seem to be overmatched with the putties. Us three, we watched. Really quick before I have you guys sound off on the putties in general as foes, but really quick, did you guys notice this? Practically the same scene in the movie where the Ivan Ooze guys defeat them and they get thrown into a group of just a pile of teenagers just waiting to morph. That's in this first episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you guys see? It's the same exact
Yes.
scene basically.
Did not go
I don't know if you guys
unnoticed.
caught that.
And I would assume if I went back and watched it, a lot of them would be like that, right? Like I would assume it's at some point they would all be like that,
Yeah.
which is fine. you got to unite them eventually and do the morphin thing.
So Jelly, what do you think about these putties? What do you think?
Obviously, they're super powerful because they're wearing power suits, and the Power Rangers are not yet. So they must be just unimaginable foes to go up against. They're ridiculous. They are absolutely absurd. Their movements are terrible. They look like they look like they should be made of putty, which I understand the name, but I mean, come on. The fact that these teenagers who are supposedly athletic and black belts in karate can't handle,
Well, 4 of them are. And then there's Billy.
Yeah.
yeah, the
there's-
fact that they can't handle a few goofy
that's hilarious.
putties that can't even handle their own limbs is absurd.
They're the perfect faceless villain.
Yeah.
You don't care what happens to them as a kid. You don't care at all. They're not scary. They're pathetic.
Yes.
Except to Billy, because Billy could not handle them apparently. He's
Well, and he's not athletic. He's only smart.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's only smart.
So putties brings into a discussion all of Rita's monsters are made out of clay and they're put into this pizza oven conveyor belt thing and they get created by I believe his name is Finster. I think that's if I'm recalling correctly. I'm looking at the cast here, but Finster, the science, Rita's science guy, and
Even the
he
bad guys
literally
have a
just
smart
makes-
person.
yeah, these putties are literally made out of putty, and created and sent to defeat the Power Rangers, and seems like they do pretty good until it's Morphin time.
Yeah. It's putties are there to fill whatever time they can't fill with stories, right?
Which
Is
seems
that
to
is
be
that like
too
the
much
overall
time.
game plan with that, right?
I thought probably.
They're that second act filler or early third act filler.
Yeah, it's
If you're classifying your Power Rangers movies as act, again, that's a episodes. That's a big stretch.
it's a
say it
stretch.
that way,
It's a
but
stretch.
Yeah,
Unless it's the 5-part Green Ranger saga, greatest saga. of all time.
it's the greatest one of all time. Yeah, we heard you say it, and yeah, we heard it.
There's that. Yeah, Jelly. I'm looking at you.
Jelly.
Patrons, I'm looking at you.
Oh,
Subscribe to our Patreon. You can look at my face when he says that.
Okay, here's the thing I want you to understand. The key word in that sentence is 5-part. How many series have 5-part sagas? Come on. Am I really being that serious? Yes, I am.
Oh man.
Uh,
Don't make me get my The Rock brow going at you, dude.
Seriously.
So it is Morphin time. Max, how do you still get stoked as an adult
Yes.
for Morphin time?
Yes. Yes. I got stoked during the movie. I get stoked during the show. It's like the music at the beginning, okay? It's the music, the original Zords, the guitar's going. Like we're going. We got the fuzz in the background. Like,
Yeah, oh my gosh, it's so bad.
Like, what does it look? It looks like when your TV's on the
TV
wrong
static,
channel, but it's but it's TV static, but with just specific colors.
Yeah,
It's perfect.
but it's
Electrified
Morphin time.
TV static.
Doesn't matter.
It's brilliant. I give them credit. That's probably was low key work for them to make those.
Yeah, probably.
I love it. Yes, 100%.
Morphin time's the greatest, man. Like you just get so pumped. You're just like, oh, they're losing to the putties. But wait, they got an ace in the hole.
I know it's
It
gonna
is
happen.
Morphin time.
And they have an ace to the ace in the hole. It's called Zords.
Yes, exactly. Well, we were talking in the movie podcast how the movie kind of goes so fast, just flash. This episode
Oh my
is
gosh.
so quick. It is
yeah.
insane because even after they morph, they don't fight the putties again that were right there. They are teleporting straight to where Goldar is, and they fight some more putties there. I noticed that they have a scene where they're done morphing and they have their weapons. However, they never use those weapons to fight. I'm pretty sure, which was pretty interesting.
Eventually these weapons. Not first episode though.
And you'll actually find, because I do recall, since I've watched it somewhat recently, but whoa, that was a fuzzy on my beard. Anyway, you will find that. Oh, there you go, Jelly. There you go, Jelly. You'll find that some of the episodes, there's a lot of like retread film. They reuse a lot of things to make it, making an episode a lot easier. And obviously that stock photo of them having the weapons was used in this first episode. But Goldar, what? Max, you said when we were doing the movie thing about the new Goldar that you really liked the direction they took in the most recent movie. I personally love this Goldar. What do you think of Goldar?
I love both. I think you can have both. And I know now this is my 5-part saga take that Jelly's frustrated with now.
No. I'm sorry. Totally distracted and 100% off topic. We will get right back to Goldar pinning it. Rita has cones where her mammary glands are. And what the heck? They're not always there, but they just had a close up of her on TV. And straight up, these things are like 12 inches long. Coming right off of her chest.
That is the 90s.
What the heck, bro? Oh, okay. Flashback. Boom. Okay.
I love how you described that though. That was really good. Good description words.
For those who are listening to just the audio, Jelly is watching Power Rangers right now as we're recording.
Yeah.
Distracted out of his mind.
That's healthy.
Dude, my son is watching, and he's 7. I mean, if you're mad at me, get mad at my 7-year-old, and then think about how you should feel about that.
I think Goldar is fantastic in both of them. Goldar in the TV show series is the number 2 or number 3 once Lord Zed comes around, right? He's top dog, but he's kind of just, after this fight, he's pretty pathetic across the board. He doesn't really do much. He'll sometimes lead the putties. That's a perfect spot for him, right above the putties, right beneath Rita and Zed and everybody else that comes around. I liked what they did in the movie simply because it was menacing, it was different, and it gave something for Rita to do during the movie. That's why I like it during the movie. You needed a faceless villain for them to fight. Very often in movies, it's like, oh, another faceless villain. Whereas like Power Rangers, it would have been strange to not have a faceless villain for them to fight on behalf of Rita, which is why I really respected and liked the choice. But yeah, in this series, I think Goldar, perfect first episode. They kick his butt right away, and he doesn't really do much outside of fight hand to hand after that.
Yeah, and I think what makes Power Rangers so special, especially as a kid, and you probably can attest to this, Jelly, as you're sitting there watching your kid watch the show. There's so many hype moments in Power Rangers. Just like they morph, then they start fighting the actual monster, and then the Zords.
And they rapid fire them at you. It's not like you have to wait for anything. You don't have to wait for anything in the show. It is absolutely just one after another, rapid fire. Here's this and this and this and this, and you're never left wondering or waiting for something to happen. It's not a dialogue show. It's not a here's the story show. It's a get down to business. Let's do this show.
Yeah, and Jelly, just comment on the intros of like the Zords. It's so awesome, huh?
Yo, and we've discussed this. Like in the movie episode, the intros were lame and awful and terrible. In the show, you get this amazing. From the earth, from the bowels of the earth splits open, opens up, and up out of the earth rises these Zords. These, huge, super powerful, and you can feel it, you can see it in the show. You get these intros to the T-Rex, the Dinozord, was it Mastodon? Is that
Mastodon.
Yeah, and they're like. The yellow one, I don't know, saber-tooth tiger.
Saber-tooth tiger?
Yeah. Like, as they come up, you just get this feeling of, oh man, like, this is it. This is huge. This is big. These things are beasts. And, my son's sitting watching. They just did that. And, and he's just like, oh, yeah.
Right.
He's a huge dinosaur fan, so that might have something to do with it. But he's just sitting in awe, and I don't think the movie had the same effect on him. I think this has had a much more profound effect, specifically on the mind of a kid, than weird flying things around a monolith or obelisk, and that was lame.
So Max, if you had to choose, apart from their Rangers, what is the best Dinozord?
Oh man, that's a really great question. Oh man, that's the best question you've asked so far. For me, it's probably Mastodon. I just, for whatever reason, really think that looks cool. The Tyrannosaurus is cool too, right? I think that's the low hanging fruit choice here, but I'll go Mastodon simply because I like the outlook and the way it looked. I like the steam coming out of its trunk. I like that.
Yeah,
I have to agree on that
was
one.
amazing.
I like the Mastodon.
That's a sweet look.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed the Tyrannosaurus Rex intro. Just coming out of the lava, and then you got the roar behind it. But I'm a huge fan of the saber-tooth tiger. I don't know why. I always grew up liking that Zord. I like its intro, just like kind of jumping off the cliff, jumping off the mountain. Man, but you guys, so at this moment, we don't care about the story. We are just hyped for days right now. We're just so excited. And then, we've touched on this already. You get a sense of, they're using practical effects. There's a person in that Zord fighting Goldar. There's a person in that Goldar.
Yes.
And it's an amazing ending fight. Max, you want to comment on that?
No, I think this was one of the wisest choices they made early on, was just that we're not going to blow the budget on CGI or trying to make something that's not good. We're going to pull from what's been done. Obviously, that was the whole premise of the show. Pull from recycled footage of previous fights in other shows. But also, they look great. So why would you change it for that era of television? If you compare it to what everybody else is doing and watch, even with pick on X-Files, they did CGI in those shows, and it did not look good sometimes.
No.
So
it fell short a few times.
I still tip my
X-Files
hat to
has
Power
been
Rangers.
mentioned way too much in a Power Rangers.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm just helping my man Chili out.
You know who could solve all of their issues? Scully and Mulder.
Scully and Mulder. No, I seriously think that is what made the show part of it. It's one of the main pieces of what made the show.
Yeah, those practical effects and having people work the work the Zord, and it wasn't just the Zord,
Yeah.
it was everyone. It was Goldar was a person. Every enemy that they face has a human being inside of this. What I'm assuming is an incredibly awkward, hard to move, hard to maneuver suit. But they did it especially in that final scene, like so convincing, so good. The tail whip before it's a Zord from the
Yes.
T-Rex. Like, holy cow. It was believable. And for it to be believable as a practical effect, as a person in a suit swinging what I'm assuming is some weird contraption behind them, like,
Yeah.
so good. So good.
But also just the practical side of just like putting the Megazord together, just like the simplicity of the effects behind that make it amazing. And just like, I've done the hand gesture, just like you get so hype when that Zord finally stands up, unfolds itself, stands up, and then you got the pterodactyl Zord coming in for the breastplate, the armor, and then you got the head just popping out. And this, like, the Zord is amazing. It's always been one of my favorite looking Zords out of any of the Zords that I've seen. Man, OG is always best, I feel. And just like we said, the original, the practical effects, the fights. The one thing here, and Max, we'll see what you say on this. Goldar just kind of wimps out after they get the power sword. It's like, what?
He gets
That's his character, though. Again, maybe it was an accident that this was his character, but his character is all talk. Goldar's all talk.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, Goldar, to me at least, when you're looking at the fight, he seems a little, a little bit more nimble, a little bit more agile than the Megazord, and it seems like he can maybe get a one up on them. But no, that power sword, apparently he knows what's up. Maybe he's faced Zordon and some teenagers before.
Could be
Maybe.
the case.
Oh man, and then the episode ends, guys. It's kind of it, and
That's all you need.
But-
You don't need anything else.
and by the way, you have now gotten a deep dive into every single episode of Power Rangers.
Boom. You're welcome.
So yeah, they end up going back to the command center, and they're like, "Whoa, that was awesome! Cool." And then Zordon gives them the rules that they're to follow. Jelly, do you remember what the rules are?
I do not. I didn't take them down. All I remember is Kimberly going, nah. And then coming back with it.
I got
kidding.
this. I got this. We're good. I got this. You cannot tell anybody about your powers, and you have to fight for truth, justice, the American way, all that jazz.
The American.
He doesn't
way.
call it the American way, but
I don't
that's
think
America.
he said that.
we're implying that in this.
Oh man. So all jokes aside, that's the Power Rangers. Max, 5 out of 5. What do you got?
Man, I've been trying to think about what I should rate. I literally spent 5 minutes before this show, like, what thing I should rate it as. Oh, I like, very nice. I would give the first episode or the whole series.
First episode.
It's all
Okay,
the
first
same.
episodes. I'm gonna be conservative. I'm gonna go 3.5 out of 5 Zeo crystals. That's what I'm gonna go there.
Whoa.
I'm gonna pull the Zero Crystal reference out. It is not one of its better episodes. There are a lot of better episodes, especially down the stretch of the first season, and it's got one of the best 5-episode arcs I've ever seen in a season.
There you go.
There you go.
I love it. I love this guy. Jelly, 5 out of 5. Let's go.
Yo, I'll give it 3. Yo, I'm gonna have to do 3. I was gonna give it more, but I don't think I can. I'll give it 3 alphas out of an alpha 5.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh, that was a good one.
You sound
That
way
was
too
really.
surprised.
That is exactly what I should have gone with.
Can I
Yeah.
Can I just agree?
You could disagree. Sure.
I think I'll do 3.5. I mean, this episode is nothing special, but just pure nostalgia. I'll give it that 0.5 extra. I'll do 3.5 morphers out of 5.
There you go.
So I'll do that one. Well, that's been Power Rangers episode 1. You guys had a good time watching it?
Oh yeah. I'm getting burnt out though. I'm not even gonna lie. I think we're on episode 6 now, and good gosh, I'm gonna turn it off as soon as this podcast is over. I'm gonna go flip that thing off real quick.
Maybe check out some of the newer Power Rangers, see if they have stories.
No.
Nope.
No.
I need a break.
Okay.
I'm gonna go turn on
It's
X-Files.
a marathon watching these shows. It's a marathon watching. You got to take your time getting there.
Definitely. Well, Max, please let our 90s First community here know where they could find you, plug some stuff, and then we'll go into what we've been doing. Why don't you go and plug?
I will. I'm part of the Infinity Bros podcast. It's a group of, just like you guys, a couple of my buddies. We made a little podcast, and we're really enmeshed in a bunch of these different communities. We do a ton of stuff. We have a Twitch channel, so we're kind of 3 to 5 days a week. We got a lot of content going out because there's so many of us that are involved that we can all kind of take a little piece of it. Newest episode just came out last week. We got another one coming up soon. We're going to be in a couple days reviewing the Umbrella Academy, whole season review spoiler episodes. So you're going to check that out. And we bounce around. We talk about a lot of film, a lot of TV, comic books, stuff like that. So we try to cover the gambit, but yeah, so you check us out. Just search Infinity Bros on any of the channels or Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can also check us out on www.theinfinitybros.com.
We lost you, Max.
Oh, no. Can you hear me now?
You've done muted.
It's okay.
I'm getting audio. I'm getting audio from you, Max.
Still. Oh.
Okay, good. Well, www.theinfinitybros.com.
Because I don't hear Jelly anymore either.
Ooh.
I hear Jelly. I hear you, Jelly.
Mike's headset died.
Oh, his headset died. Very good. Very good. Very good.
Yo, so
should I just keep plugging?
Well,
or when do you? Since he's not here, should we talk about X-Files? I'm kidding.
Yo,
I'm kidding.
Let me ask some questions about some Infinity Bros stuff.
Okay, ask it.
So you guys were doing a watch along the other day with Spaceballs.
Yeah. So our buddy Mark does he's starting to do watchathons now. And we do what's called a time stone segment, so we try to play with the Infinity War stuff. And we review old movies. So they're going through like all the Schumacher Batman movies, which drives me nuts. I cannot stand those movies, but Mark loves them, and so does Robbie. So
Spaceballs,
you can check those out. They actually
so good.
Spaceballs is good.
It's
very good.
I was so stoked when I saw that because it's one. I'm a Star Wars nerd, so probably the best parody. One of the best parodies ever done, period. But especially a parody of Star Wars, that one takes the cake. And I was loving that they were watching. Was there anyone who hadn't seen it yet, or had everyone already seen it?
No, Mark had seen it, but it had been a long time. We have a buddy who we give a hard time to. That he's like, if you do this, I'll watch it. So he watched it. So
great.
That's our show basically. Whenever we tick off each other, we bring it into the show. It's like with Princess Bride, we did that. We literally did that fundraiser, and the whole motivation from the whole group was to get me to watch Princess Bride.
It makes me sad that you reviewed it so lowly.
I know. I'm sorry. The experience it gives way for it. So, all right, Mike, I'm done plugging my podcast. Sorry.
All right. Well, for a while, I couldn't even hear you. Could you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could hear you.
Okay. All right. Well, thankfully, I'll have your audio then. All right. So then, Jelly, why don't you roll into what you have been up to? Let's get a deep dive into Jelly's life.
Deep dive into Jelly's life. Yo, we have had a crazy week here at my house with medical issues. So it has been insane. I've had to take time off of work, and everything is going better now. But just dealing with that. So I got a lot more family time, which is awesome out of it. And now I'm watching Power Rangers, and I regret it. I regret how much I've seen of it. But no, I've been working usual. Apart from the medical things going on, it's just been life as usual. I got 2 kids, husband, father, so that's taken a pretty prioritizing role in my life lately. A little bit of video games, Apex, and then the biggest thing has been I got a PC recently, so I'm getting that ready to go so that I can take this podcast and everything that I do, photography and video related, and get it going on my PC. So getting that thing all set up, I'm getting there, which is exciting because a lot of people don't know this here, but I'm a huge PC nerd. And so it has been a 5-year goal to get this going. And I finally have a working PC with decent spec hardware in it.
Nice, dude.
That I'm super stoked on. So yeah.
All giddy.
I am.
Max, what have you been up to, man? Just like in your spare time? Anything fun?
Man, I just finished Last Chance U today, so I'm checking that out, watching that, getting ready to review that. So love that show. I coach football in my area too, so just really big into that right now. Yeah, I mean, wife's been working overnights, so it's me, kid, and then she gets up late and takes care of kid, and then I get to do what I got to do. So yeah, working hard. We're just kind of all. I live in Minnesota, so we're all just kind of waiting right now to see what the state's gonna do. They revealed a plan for how to go back to school, but it's basically up to the district now and the state to decide with sports. So kind of playing the COVID waiting game that we've all been playing for 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Gotcha.
Lots of fun.
Okay.
Lots of fun.
Well, how is Last Chance U? Good?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this season. Yeah, I'll review it on my podcast. I'll kind of hold back on that a little bit, but really enjoyed it. And as a coach, a lot of good like tears coming down my face for this season's coach. What I would say is the best of all the seasons.
Nice.
Really?
And he's in an area that needs a good man. That is the kind of guy you want for your Oakland athletes.
They put a cornerstone in there for people to be built up upon.
Definitely. I would go check it out purely off of him. Coach Beam is great, and
Nice.
the series usually has been exploring things like, football more important than everything else. And I think this season did a great job, and the timing of it was great with everything happening with COVID, the stuff happening socially. I thought it did a very good job with talking about that without having to like explicitly say those things out loud.
They bridged it really well.
They did, and he had there's a player who has significant traumas from his dad.
Oh no.
And he stops a practice so the kid can call a social worker to breathe. And it's like you would have never seen that the previous 4 seasons. And
That's
just,
awesome.
wow.
That's awesome they did
it's
that.
really cool. It was a really good last season of that show. So take your time getting to it because there's not going to be any more. But I would recommend this. Definitely recommend that series.
Awesome. Well, for me, my most recent thing that I was excited about is I finished Ready Player One on audiobook, and it was read by Will Wheaton. So he just did an amazing job.
It's so
and,
good.
It was so good. It's way better than the movie, so I definitely recommend reading the book. And right now, it's probably up there as my favorite book of all time. And that's not saying much. I don't read a whole lot, but man, I was so invested into the story, into the characters. Like, it's just one of those books that like the evil person is so evil that you just get so excited when the good guys win and when the good guys finally get a leg up on the evil guys. So it was just one of my favorite stories I've read ever. So it's probably up there as my number one, but so much so that I had to go buy a physical copy of it. So I went to the used bookstore in town, supported a local small business, and grabbed myself a copy of that. I then started Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince on audiobook.
Okay. All right.
I have read 1 through 5 and just never got around to finishing the series. So I'm thinking audiobook may be the way that I do that. Don't even give me that, bro.
You know my love for Harry Potter. You understand
Bro,
how
I know.
difficult this is for me. The fact that you read it and you didn't finish it, bro, Max, if you haven't read or watched that, please don't tell me. It will hurt me.
Like if I haven't watched or read them?
Yes.
Oh, I've watched them. I read. I was a kid when I read them, so
Did you
yeah,
read all of them?
I'd have to reread them. They're good. Yeah, they're good.
All right, Mike, keep going.
I've got nothing negative to say about them. I got nothing negative to say.
I'm just saying, Power Rangers won. Well, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we can only really go off who wins, and Power Rangers
Yeah.
won. So
Yeah. So
great point. Great point.
Jelly said that X Files is gonna face X Files next time. Just make sure.
Which X Files movie are you gonna have it go against? I mean, like, there's so many X Files movies. That's the problem with that one too. All over the place. That
the
series.
TV show, because I
TV
want
show.
I want to talk about.
Oh,
the
that's
show.
right. Sorry. Yeah.
I also
Getting
want to
mixed up.
talk about the newest season of that show, but that's for another time. Okay, Mike, what's going on? There's something else big in your life, man.
Yeah, I am potentially getting a new house soon. So
Hey.
yeah, we have an accepted offer on a house right now. But there's some contingencies to it. It has to. We are making the sellers set up internet there to pass an internet test to make sure that we have decent internet there. So we'll have, like, hopefully the plan can get up to 60 megabytes, which is good enough for me, good enough to podcast, game, and, probably stream, depending on how. Probably won't be doing a lot of online gaming while streaming as well, but that's just it is how it is. We just love the house, so we want to go for it, and it can get an okay internet plan, so that's all we care about. And then I think my house is gonna go live tomorrow, and our realtor really thinks that it's gonna sell quick, so she's thinking we'll have offers here pretty quick. So
Nice.
hopefully it all goes well. I think that's all I got, unless Jelly thinks I have more.
I think that's it. Man.
All right, cool. Well, my name is Mike. This is Max from the Infinity Bros. That is Jelly. This has been the 90s First. Remember, catch us up on socials. Come chat with us over on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. This has been the 90s First. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time.
X-Files.
For
X-Files.
All right,
Unless I'm a
adios.
third-time loser.
Bye.
Bye.
Boom. Stop.